We're going to look at how to locate information on the database LockedOn, which we do use quite a lot. So we need to firstly open a new tab and go to LockedOn. There's a shortcut here. Now we just use Lorraine's login on reception. Lorraine and Anita are the only ones really who have passwords. So it auto-fills with Lorraine's email address and password there. So database we use for keeping track of buyers and sellers of properties, people who've been to open homes, people who've done made inquiries, and also all the people for the sales anniversaries, which we do once a month. So we do use it quite a lot. Now, there are a lot of functions it has which we don't actually use, but and one of them is this tasks here. So ignore that big number of tasks. So as you can see on the left-hand side, we've got our menu down here. Now the dashboard is what we're looking at now, which gives us a bit of a summary of what's going on with all the properties we've got entered. The ones we'll use all the time are clients, which is the little people, and properties, little house. And also possibly the reports function, because you can generate reports of, say, all the people who went to a specific open home or all the people who've inquired on a specific property we've got for sale. So if we would do, first off, let's say we're looking for a particular property. Let's work on our new listing, which is 12 Miranda Street. So if we wanted to see whether it's already been entered into the system, you would go to the properties button, because we're going to search by the property. Now, all of these things here in this kind of grid view are properties we've entered for different reasons. It appears to list them in no particular order. So they're not in alphabetical order or order of suburb. I'm not really sure. But anyway, so the easiest way to find something is just to type in the street there. More information is better than more information. So you can see that we have information on several properties in Miranda Street. Our new listing is number 12. So we're going to click on number 12, and we've got a few different screens we can look at here. It opens up onto the summary page, of course. There's a few different tabs there we can have a look at, and also down here. So normally you would look at the information page. It shows here which agent is the contact point, or which agent entered the details. And then as we scroll down the page, you can see it's got all the standard kind of information: the address, how many bedrooms, bathrooms, and garages. Somebody's already looked it up in RP data and checked to see what it sold for last, which was way back in 2005. It was sold at this price here. You can fill in all this other data if you want. We usually stick to the basics, which is the last sold price, the last sold date, year built. That usually shows on RP data as well, and the real property description, whether it's owned or occupied. Now, as you scroll down, you can see there are various other fields that you could choose. Say this property was, so here we go, for instance, you've got, is it acreage, is it beachfront, does it have a pool? You could choose any of those options. It has got a usable land, so let's go with that. Property groups, that was when we first imported. We don't really use that field. Now we've got a little bit of a box here where we can type in a bit of information. This one's got a bit of an unusual situation. The legal owner is an elderly lady who is in a nursing home. We're dealing with her two daughters, who are her powers of attorney, and there is a legal claim against it by her ex-partner. And I found out recently when I did the title search that he has actually lodged a caveat, put a caveat on the property, which means basically it can't be sold without his knowledge or without some kind of okay from him. I'm just going to get his name off the title search, which is here. We may as well put that bit of information in too. So we discovered this from the title search. His name is Reginald Raymond Milham. So I'm going to copy that. We may as well add that bit of information. Robin's ex-partner. So now we know his name. We'll put his name in. Reginald claiming % of sale proceeds, and we'll put there that he lodged a caveat in 2022. Okay, so then you click your update button. So you can fill in as much information as you have. There's all these different tabs here too, of course, where you can enter information if you have it. Life cycle just shows where we're at in the process. Lorraine has appraised it and it has been listed. So if we go across to the listing here, you can see that it was listed on the 31st of January. Some of these fields relate more to a New South Wales situation where they're talking about receiving the contract, which is a New South Wales thing where you have to receive a contract from a solicitor. Not really relevant in Queensland, but anyway, shows here who the property agents are. Lorraine listed it. If Anita was involved, for instance, you could also choose her name to go in there. And they actually want 880,000. They've changed it, so we're going to up that. They would like to receive over $880,000 is the latest thing. So because I've made an alteration, I'm going to click update. You can see the little orange line going across there showing something's happened. Sales advice is what is prepared again in New South Wales, but there's no harm in us filling in the details when an offer has been accepted and you go into contract. So just to move across through the other tabs, marketing. Okay, we do use a few of these features. It's going to be uploaded onto the internet next week, and we'll be doing open homes next Saturday. So we need to toggle that on, that it's ready to market, because otherwise a couple of the things we need to do won't work. So, which we'll come to later, do an update later on. So now once it is on domain and real estate, we can actually add in the fields here the reference number which is generated by the relevant website. Now what that does is as soon as somebody inquires, and a prospective buyer inquires via one of these platforms, it will sync their information into LockedOn. So we have a record of all the inquirers. So as soon as it becomes live, we have to go back into LockedOn and enter the codes which are on the listings in those two websites. So we don't have that information yet because we haven't actually uploaded it. Are you sure you want to delete? Yes, we do. And I'm just going to take that one out as well because we don't have the data yet. So it is possible to use LockedOn as your uploader to get properties onto realestate.com.au. We don't actually use it for that function because we use EAC, but it does have that ability. Like I say, it does a lot of things that we're not actually using it for. Now, I usually upload the main image because we're going to generate a QR code for people to scan when they attend an open home. So we can capture their information. And just to make that sheet look pretty, we usually have a photo. So you could upload all the photos if you wanted to. I usually just upload the main one. So we're just going to go here and then search in our G drive in sales. We have had the professional photos taken. So they are in here. We're going to use a web size one. Now, Lorraine's preference, she likes the photograph of the veranda showing the nice leafy outlook. So we're going to use that. So we've got that photo in the system. As you can see, there's also provision for a floor plan. Now, you don't need to save that page. Who knows why, but you don't. And if we come across here to opens, this is where we can generate what they call public access, which is their name for the QR code. So if I click that button there and choose print PDF, it's going to generate for me an A4 page. As you can see there, it's got a QR code. Scan the QR code to check in. So when people come to the open home, we request that they do that, and they have to fill in their name, mobile number, and email, and that will also go straight into LockedOn. So I'm going to download that because we will print that out ready for the first open home when it comes up. I'm going to save that in the Miranda Street file. I'm going to put that under listing, which is where we put our miscellaneous files related to advertising the property, brochures, etc. So I'm going to change away from that generated gobbledygook file name and call it QR code for open homes. OFI stands for open for inspection. And we're going to save that. So we can print that out and provide that to Lorraine later on. So that's back to, we can close that tab now, to LockedOn. So working our way across portals, I haven't used that. That's, I think, if we were going to actively use LockedOn to export out to realestate.com.au and domain, where you would use that, but we're not using that function. Now, the other thing we have on the side here, it records who the owners are of the property and anyone else who's got an interest in it. So if we scroll down here, we can see that the property is assigned to Lorraine. She was listed by Lorraine. Here are the details of the sellers or vendors. Now, if we click on that hyperlink there, it will open up the information relating to the two sellers, who are the daughters of the actual owner, because she's in a nursing home, Sonia and Stephanie. And we do have a little bit of information about them. Sonia actually lives out in Tallabudra Valley. She only has a landline. She doesn't use email. Stephanie is actually living in the property at the moment, and we don't have a phone number for her, but we do have her email. So if you wanted to look at them in more detail, you can choose that View Contacts button, and you can see them there a bit more easily. On this other tab, the General tab, you can actually add a little bit more information if you want. So Lorraine is their primary contact. They actually contacted us because they saw one of our signboards on a property that was for sale around the corner. So do we have an option to choose that? Signboard, yes. They saw Lorraine's sign around the corner, and that is the reason why they contacted her to appraise the property. So that's just a bit of interest for us. If you don't know, you don't have to choose that. Important details about this client. Well, one very important detail is the fact that these are the daughters of the seller, not the actual seller. I think I've got that typed on the property page. You can always open a second tab by right-clicking there and go open link in new tab. If we wanted to jump back and have a look at what was listed on the actual property page without closing our other page, you can easily do that. Is a good little shortcut. So there we are. You can see I've uploaded that photo, so that's updated that. Now, I had typed in the information box this little bit of information about the unusual situation they've got going there. So we might copy that, and we'll also add that into important details about this client, because it is an important detail. Now, if you want to, you can fill in these client tags. You can choose your drop-down box, and if it was any of these were relevant, well, you could choose those. So there's the people are sellers. They're not past clients. Anyway, we don't have to select anything there, but you can certainly do so if there is something relevant. So just click update there to save that. Now, if we go across here, then we've got this other information relating to those people. So there's the contact page we were looking at before, related contacts. So if there was somebody else in the system who had some kind of relationship with them, her husband, for instance, who may own another property, you can link people together. I don't actually do that very often. Buyer criteria, so if they were an active buyer, you could toggle that on, and then you could fill in all this detail here. They're sellers, so that's not really relevant, so we won't toggle that on. Documents, yes, if you wanted to save any files in the system here, you could do that. We're not usually actually using that feature either. So if we move across here to this other menu, the general menu, properties shows us that these people are linked to 12 Miranda Street. And if we click on that, it takes us back to Miranda Street. So they're linked that way. We'll use our different tabs just to save jumping backwards and forwards. So my first tab has got the property open. My second tab, I'm going to have the contacts, the clients open. So you can see that's how we can cross-reference, and you can see if you thought to yourself, I know I remember that name, you look up Sonia McIntosh, you want to see why have we dealt with her in the past. Oh, she was one of the sellers of 12 Miranda Street. So activity here, we haven't put this online yet, so there isn't any activity showing. I will show you an existing property that will have inquiry to, so you can see what I mean. Yes, and because this is a new listing, there is really nothing much to show in those yet. Now we have also have an actions menu here with a drop-down box. So if we open that, it gives us quite a lot of different things we can do. there. So you can also just add a note, which is a feature I use. If you wanted to add a note about these people, you can click on that and obviously add a note, and it stays on the front page, which makes it easier to see. I'll show you an existing property just to show you how that looks on other ones, actually. So while we're talking about people, if you're trying to locate, if someone walks into the office and lets you know they're interested in having their name registered as somebody who's wanting to buy, you can always check to see whether they're in the system at all or not already. So you can see here it starts to list. If you just go to clients, it's got a list here of people who are in our system. Again, not sure what kind of order that is. Doesn't appear to be any kind of specific order itself at all. Showing we have nearly 4,500 people in our system, which is quite a lot. So if we wanted to find, okay, we'll look for a person who I know is a current seller, but if we didn't know what his relationship was, I can type in his surname. Ian Thurkle is the person I'm looking for. Okay, so as you type, it starts to find people. So there we are. I was looking for Ian Thurkle, and all I've typed in is THU, and it's found him for me. Same token, if I don't know his surname and all I know is Ian, it's going to find me everyone in the system with Ian somewhere in their contacts. You can also search on mobile phone numbers. So Ian's number is 0437. So if I had a missed call on the phone, I was curious who it might be, I can start to look via mobile numbers, and it will pick up that group of numbers. Interestingly, you have to have the space. If I just type, I know Ian's number, the next number is 4. If I put 4 there, oh no, it's going to make a liar out of me, is going to pick it up. Anyway, so yes, you can search for people in a couple of ways, and also by their email address, of course. So now Ian is in the system. He's been a client a couple of ways. He's selling a property. He's been a tenant as well. So here is my information about Ian. You can see across here, it gives a summary of his details. What property is he connected with? Okay, so he's the owner of 6 of 24 Panorama Drive. So we can look him up and see that. Now, if we're curious as to what's going on with that one, it is an active property that Lorraine has got on the market. If we scroll down here, you can see it. We get a summary on our first page, and these have been picked up, as you can see. Nikki Wise has contacted us via realestate.com.au. So Lorraine will have in her email inbox an inquiry through realestate.com.au from this person, Nikki Wise, and as well as entering it in here. So as we scroll down, you can see, and you can manually add people in who may have phoned you up so you don't have an email trail. This one here is an example. Kim Carter. Lorraine has typed her details in because she's just showed up at an open home. She didn't email first. So that is all activity. If you wanted to narrow it down to see who actually had inspected, you go across here to the inspection tab. So this is saying that these people have inspected the property. Now, interestingly, I can't click on that and get Nikki Wise's contact details. It gives you a summary of that to let us know that she's been there. But if I wanted to phone Nikki to follow her up, I need to actually search her in the Clients tab. So if I type in Nikki, there's Nikki Wise there. So to find her phone number and her contact information, I have to go out, I have to leave the Panorama folder and find her under the Client section. So a little bit of a downfall. It would have been easier if you could just click on her there and see all her contact details. But anyway, so that is a good resource there. Now, if Lorraine said to you, I need a printout to see all of the people who've been shown interest in 6 of 24 Panorama Drive, that would be when we would use our reporting function, which is the menu down here on the side. If we click here, we can go to reports, and there are several different types of reports you can access. We're interested in who's gone to look at 6 of 24 Panorama, which is an inspection. So if we open up that menu, now, if you had a big office with multiple agents, you could choose your agent there. If you want to, yes, you can group it by which property they've gone to look at or which agent have they been to see. You can narrow it down by date range. So let's see who's been to look at Panorama Drive in the month of February up till today. We can adjust the date range and click on the button to generate a report. Now, it thinks about it and it will give you a report which you can download as a PDF. It would be handier if it downloaded a spreadsheet, but that's not how it works. So it would seem that we only have, where's my report gone? One person has attended the viewing. Download PDF. I need to download it before I go clicking on the X. So if I download that, according to this, only one person has inspected it. Let's have a look and see if it's in my downloads folder. No, why not? Oh, it's automatically put it in Maranta for some reason. Okay, I'm just going to put that on my desktop for curiosity. And it gives you a strange string of numbers at letters as a name. Let's just say Inspections Panorama. So you can print that easily, obviously print that off. Not that it shows us much detail, but again, if you wanted to, and you know, if Lorraine wanted to call Kim Carter, she could certainly do that because she's got her name in front of her. If you wanted to merge it into a list or something, you can't because it gives you a PDF. It's a bit of a downfall in the system there, but that's the way it works. So if we go back, locked on, have I managed to close it now, have I? Is my locked on tab gone? Somehow or other, I've managed to close it. Okay. I should just be able to log back in with a new tab. Should log straight in. Here we are, we're back again. Okay, so back down to our reports feature. Yes, so there's all different reports you can do. The most common one you would probably print off is inquiries or inspections. You can actually track the whole sales process, including all the financial side of things through this program. We tend to use our property management software, Property Tree, so we're not using this website to its full capacity. So once again, same thing, you can choose a date range, whatever. Now, in the Engine tab, you can also save all the details of solicitors that you deal with on a regular basis. So if we click here, you can see there's quite a few solicitors saved in the system already, because as we progress the sale through the system, it will ask it, who is the solicitor acting on behalf of the buyers and sellers? I'm going to find, and if your solicitor is not here, you can go through here, add a new solicitor via the actions menu there. So I'm going to show you a property which has recently settled, so you can see what I mean by that. So a recent settlement we did was Seabrook Street, 24 Seabrook. Now you can see there's two listings for Seabrook. There is the sale, this one here marked settled, and the people who were connected to that, Patricia and Karen, were the sellers. Now the buyer was David Daly. You can see here it's classing this one as a potential. That's because one day David may want to sell and he may want to ask us to do that for him. So properties are duplicated when we do the settlement process. So if I show you the one that was sold, when we go down here and look at this menu on the far right, you can see here we had our sellers, solicitor who acted for them. Here is the buyer, David Daly. Here is his solicitor here. So you've got a snapshot there of the property. Shows it's settled. It's got this update status button you can use as well, which would probably show that it's gone through to the settle process. There it is there. You've got a few choices here, which you can choose. It's just it's a records keeping feature more than anything for us, because we are not actively using this to upload to websites or anything. So this is really a records keeping process. It is a very good one because you can keep a record of anyone who's walked into the office and made an inquiry, people who phoned up. You can enter their information here, and then we've all can always look back and find them. You can add notes so you know what it was they spoke to you about. In another video, I will run through the settlement process when we are transferring ownership of the property to the new buyer. That's it for how to find information on LockedOn.